Hey guys, mini reading this evening, and this is based on the film The Duchess by Keira Knightley. I'm not going to go into the whole history of it right now, okay? I'll be here forever. But basically, The Duchess is based on Georgiana Cavendish that was married to the Duke of Devonshire, and it was really famous because Georgiana invited a friend at the time, Bess, to come and live with her, and then Bess ended up living with them in like a menage a trois. And then Bess actually ended up marrying the Duke of Devonshire after Georgiana passed. And there's so much more to it than that, but I don't have time to do all this evening. So I'm going to go over the main three questions that I've got here from the information, okay, that I had coming through. I was typing this up earlier. Right, here we go. So how did she feel about the Duke really when she had to marry the Duke of Devonshire? So this is what I heard, okay? Okay, so the film portrayed this differently. As in, she asked in the film, does he love her? So when she found out she was going to marry the Duke in Devonshire, she said to her mum, oh, but Mama, does he love me? And the mum's like, of course he loves you. But she said literally, this is all rubbish, okay? She didn't say it like that. She knew from the start that she would marry a powerful name, whether she loved them or not. And her job, I got that by the way, her job was not to marry for love. It would not be allowed due to her background. And she said the film romanticised this bit. And she knew from birth she was born into a famous name and would be expected to marry into one too. And this was her duty. And that came across very strongly. This was her duty. And as such, she did not question her parents' choice. So in the film, it's all about, does he love me? And oh, will he love me? And the mum's like more realistic and says you can learn to love each other. It wasn't anything like that. She was just going to go along with whatever her parents said because that's what it was back then. She's not going to marry the guy in the pub down the street, okay? It doesn't happen like that back then with her heritage and her family name. She was expected to marry high up, very high up. It was just expected of her. So it wasn't to do with love back then. It was just the fact that she knew she would marry into a famous name. And it was her duty, okay? Now, how did she feel about Bess? So the information that came across about Bess was she did feel betrayed at first about Bess. She saw her as a threat, and because at the time she could not bear an heir, okay? And she thought Bess was, and I heard the words, stepping on her toes. So it pretty much was like the film, that all of a sudden this person that she invited into her life started sleeping with her husband. And she's like, yeah, she was obviously angry, but not for the way you think, okay? Because I've got here, she did not love her husband like that in a romantic way. Again, it was duty. She did not want Bess around either, though, at the time. When all this happened, she did not want Bess around either. So at first, it was a friendship. She was bored. And then in time, when this affair started, they actually grew to be companions, long-term companions, because Bess stayed and ended up marrying the Duke after she passed. And she said there were many evenings. It wasn't like you see in the films that have balls all the time. You're just in this big, lonely mansion house as servants. There's no one else there, literally. There's no one else. There's no other companions. She was young. She wanted a friend. So when this happened with Bess, it's almost like, I don't think the Duke would have let her go, if I'm honest, with Bess. It was literally like there wasn't an option there. It was like the film. There was no option there. Bess was going to stay no matter what. But in a way, over time, Georgiana didn't care because she wanted a companion. She was young. She was lonely. She said there were long days so it would just be raining and there'd be nothing to do when they play card games or chess or some kind of board game, I see. So it's almost like they had their own fun together. And she said that her and Bess were both mischievous and quite alike, in fact. So with Bess, it did end up being a companionship. And she's not going into anything about sexual menage a trois or anything like that. I'm not getting anything like that coming through from her. It's more to do with she was a companion, she was a fun companion, a loyal companion I hear as well. So there was genuine love and affection there. And she only saw Bess as a threat because of the heir, because she didn't have an heir at the time, and that's what worried her. So it was more betrayal in that sense, but she didn't hate Bess because she was madly in love with her husband. So again, that's actually sticking to the film quite well there. There's no love lost with her and her husband, I'm hearing now. Okay, and lastly, quickly guys, what does she have to say about her outfits? Because she was famous for making a statement at these balls. She would be a trendsetter. She'd walk in and everybody would be trying to wear it or create it like a week later for the next ball. So she was really famous for that. And she says here about her outfits, it was a way for women to have power back then. And she loved that her outfits caused such a stir. She knows it was frivolous. I keep hearing the word frivolous that came through, but otherwise her life was really dull in these, and these are the words that came through, in these big, cold, drafty houses. So again, being lonely in a mansion, bored. She said, I'm getting through now. She had hours and days and weeks to think what outfit she was going to wear, down to the material, like going to bed, sleeping about it, different velvets and jewel colours and everything, because she was bored. There wasn't anything else to do. She had the money to create these. She was actually really creative. She designed a lot of these things as well. You know, people think that it was a tailor that did all this back at the, you know, back then. She designed. She was really creative. She was so creative. She's almost like an artist in a way, that she could go outside. There's a scene where she wears feathers, and I don't know if there's something on this, but I'm getting peacock feathers that she would see, and then she would try and incorporate it into an outfit. So when she would go out, she would see things in nature that she would incorporate into an outfit. She was an artist. She was an artist. But as a woman, it wasn't like she could just, it wasn't done back then for her. For, again, all to do with her heritage and who she was. She couldn't do it like that. So it's a way to express herself. And I keep hearing boredom, lonely, rainy days. It was boring. And I see her sketching, actually. So then we have as well, this made me laugh a lot, okay? When she had the chance to go to a ball and dress up, she went for it. She went for it, you know? Again, lots of boredom, staying in for weeks on end, boredom, can't wait to go out on a night out. Probably a bit like lockdown and COVID, guys. And this is actually really interesting what came through as well, because she said the saying, I don't know if you grew up, I mean, I'm 40, okay, but my grandparents would joke saying children should be seen and not heard, you know, like joke around. So she said that was the common phrase only a few decades ago, but back then it was more the wife of a great man should be seen and not heard. So not children should not be seen or not heard. Back then the wife should be seen and not heard. So nothing to do with kids, that's changed. So she couldn't really express herself. Like, it wasn't like in the film where she'd be at the end of this banquet speaking to the prime minister and all that. It wasn't really like that. She didn't have a say back then. And her outfits were her way of expressing herself. And lastly, yeah, because she said she should be seen and not heard because her duty, and I keep hearing the word duty time and time again, her duty was to be, and this is the words, obliging and support him. So her duty was to be obliging and support him, and not to, and again this word came in strongly, overshadow him. So clothes gave her power, basically. Clothes gave her power. It was a way of expressing herself. It was just fun. It was just her fun. It was freedom to her in a way as well. And I keep hearing locked up in these drafty houses. And I know they had loads of mansion houses. I think it's one of the richest men in the whole of Britain back then. But anyway, that's all I've got so far, guys. I know there's loads more. So I will do a part 2, but that's the main information that came through this evening. So keep adding your comments in the community chat, and I will do a part 2 and answer more comments for you. Okay, good night, guys.